Hello there, everyone. This is a review, an album review. I've done a couple of album reviews in some of my videos. Um, they don't always catch on, but this one I was kind of talked into by my fellow YouTuber and the guy that kind of wanted to help me get into making videos this year. His name is Matthew Street, spelled Matthew like the standard spelling, and then Street like the street that you live on. So check out his channel, Matthew Street. If you don't know him already, you should know him. He's a funny guy. He's kind and just a great fan of music. He loves the Beatles, power pop, um, some punk, um, the '60s stuff. I mean, the good stuff: the Monkees, Beatles, Beach Boys, um, power pop like the Knack and Badfinger, stuff like that. He likes all that kind of stuff, and he does a few other things too. But check out Matt's channel if you haven't. So Matt, this video is for you, and it's also for the good people over at Gem Records. And I've got some notes here. Whoops, I've got some notes here that I've taken. What I'm doing, if you've never heard of Gem Records, Jem Records. Um, they kind of specialize in power pop groups and kind of like on their label groups that love groups like the Beach Boys or the Kinks and things like that. New artists that love the past. Is a good way that I would put it. Last year, the artists at Gem Records put together a tribute album to John Lennon, and they all did covers of his stuff, Beatles and solo. Well, this year, 2021, the album that came out through Gem Records, and apparently this is going to become a new tradition with them, so we're looking forward to who's next. But this year was Mr. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. That's right, Mr. Brian Wilson. And this is the CD. It's the only format that this is in, so there's no vinyl yet for those that love the vinyl. So this is a review that Matt told me to do, and I was like, okay, because he posted a few months ago when this was announced. He posted on his channel that Brian Wilson would be the topic of discussion on this latest album, and I don't have any Gem Records artists in my collections. Like I'm not even like before, like I wasn't a fan of any of these artists, not because I didn't like them, but because I didn't know their material. I know Matt talks about, especially like the Grip Weeds and the Midnight Callers. They're two of the groups featured on this, and there's several others. I know he did he did an interview with Stephen Schnee with Jonathan Pushkar, who is on this album a couple different times, 3 different times. So Matt's got a pretty good reputation with Gem Records, and um, I saw that he posted this as a new album coming out, and so I'm like, I'm all in to get it. So, what it is it's almost all Beach Boys songs with the exception of one song. It's a solo Brian Wilson song, and it's the artist of Gem Records singing Brian Wilson. So, without further ado, I'm going to go track by track. I'm not wanting to make this too long, but I'm going to break down each track. Overall, really nice tribute to Brian Wilson. I love the man. Brian Wilson is a genius. My favorite all-time album is Pet Sounds, and I like other groups more than the Beach Boys, but Pet Sounds is my all-time favorite album. So Brian Wilson, you'll always have my heart with Pet Sounds. So without further ado, the opening two tracks are by a group called the Weaklings, and they start with like a shortened version of the Beach Boys track from the Shut Down Volume 2 album. The track is called The Warmth of the Sun. They do almost a full a cappella version, just a beautiful like intro to the beginning of the album, kind of like Our Prayer on Smile by the Beach Boys, where it's kind of like an a cappella, like invocation almost. And there's a little bit of guitar at the end, but it's just like it's less than a minute, like 50 seconds of just beautiful harmony, to which goes right into, also by the Weaklings, the big hit Help Me Rhonda. So that Help Me Rhonda is the first full song on the album, and this was from the album The Beach Boys Today. So it's mostly the early Beach Boys. I think the latest album that they cover is Wild Honey on these songs. But anyway, they go into Help Me Rhonda. Killer, like open up. The acoustic intro to it is very Kinks sounding. If you know the Kinks, it kind of sounds like that when they break into it. And the Weaklings have an affinity to show their love of the Beatles, so and they do a lot of Beatles in their live sets. They're almost, I guess you could call them a tribute band to the Beatles. So they kind of have to throw that in there a little bit into the song where they, the lyrics, help me Rhonda, help me Rhonda. And then they say, won't you please, please help me Rhonda. And like, so like they kind of merge into help for like a couple of words by the Beatles and then go back into help me Rhonda. And then at the very end of the song, they break out the theremin, which is the instrument you hear on the end of Good Vibration. So it's like the wow, 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 kind of like that at the end. And a lot of these songs take other Beach Boys songs and kind of interplay them within the song. So I thought that was kind of cool. The third song is the song, it's a deeper cut from the Summer Days, Summer Nights album. It's called You're So Good to Me. And this is by the Gripweeds, who are probably like the pinnacle group on Gem Records. Just a great, 60s style power pop, early 70s power pop sounding group. The drumming on this song sounds very Ticket to Ride, like boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, kind of like that. So there's Beatles influences in all these artists, and I don't want to focus on the Beatles for this, but you can tell that all these artists love the Beatles, and they all seem to have an affinity for Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. So that was a really cool song. Good to me. You're So Good to Me with that Ticket to Ride beat. The fourth song is by, I'm gonna say it, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, Nick Puente, who does Hang On to Your Ego, which is an alternate take of I Know There's an Answer from Pet Sounds. And I prefer Hang On to Your Ego. I preferred it on like the bonus tracks on Pet Sounds. And he has I think he might be this might have been my favorite vocal performance on the whole album. His voice is very early, like Faces Rod Stewart, like kind of raspy, smoky sounding voice to it. And again, I think it's a highlight. Again, it's an alternate take from Pet Sounds. I can't say it. That was probably one of the more impressive songs on the whole set for me. So this breaks me into like maybe my one complaint about the album is that the track listing, at least on my copy, is wrong. So on the track listing, it's supposed to go into Love and Mercy, the solo Brian Wilson song, but it jumps to 3 songs down to Dance, Dance, Dance. So I'm going to take it in order of how it's played on the album, but I don't know if you all had that trouble, but I guess maybe it'll be worth money later on. I don't know. But my sequencing was off on my CD. That was the only song that was the case. But anyway, Dance, Dance, Dance. This is by Jonathan Pushkar. This is from the Beach Boys Today album. Very faithful rendition. He doesn't change a whole lot. He does throw in a little snippet of "Do You Want to Dance," which Dennis Wilson sings with the Beach Boys. So like, "Do you want to dance under the moon?" It's a Bobby Freeman song. So it's not a Brian Wilson original. So he threw that in there, and then doom, dance, dance, yeah. Like he merged it. It's merged pretty well in there. So I thought that was kind of cool. Because "Dance, Dance, Do You Want to Dance" is one of my favorite Beach Boys covers. So then jumping back, we go to Love and Mercy, which is the only solo Brian track on the whole album. Kind of Brian's anthem. He always signs off like his social media postings with Love and Mercy. And he closes most of his concerts these days with Love and Mercy. It's a beautiful song from his debut called Brian Wilson. This is by the Gold Needles. It's their one contribution to the album. Kind of like a tremolo sounding voice. It's kind of proggy, I would say, the style. Whoops. Again, I mean, it's very faithful, like the melody. They didn't go overboard with any kind of changes, so it was nice. So then jumping to "Girl Don't Tell Me" by the Anderson Council. Again, this is another song that's kind of got that Ticket to Ride drumming, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, like that. It's the same kind of drumming. But I thought also when I heard it, it sounded very much like the early Who and their song "I Can See for Miles." I can see for miles, and like that. It's got like the way that he does his voice is very Roger Daltrey in that song. So I think that was really cool. And that original song was from the Summer Days, Summer Nights album as well. Then we jump to Don't Worry Baby. So this is by Lisa Mickles and the Super 8. And this reminded me very much of the Shangri-La's Leader of the Pack. Her voice is kind of that style. And I thought that was really cool. Of course, she changes the pronouns for, for she to he. So she makes it about, a boy that she loves versus Brian Wilson singing about a girl. And this original song was from the Shutdown Volume 2 album as well. And yeah, I thought it sounded very much like Leader of the Pack. A little bit of Zooey Deschanel kind of singing, if you know who Zooey Deschanel is. She's an actress and also a singer. So it had those vibes to it. Next, we go to a medley of Heroes and Villains and Roll Plymouth Rock. And this is the Grip Weeds again. And Heroes and Villains is one of my favorite Beach Boys songs. It was written by Van Dyke Parks, who did the music. The lyrics. Brian did the music. Originally intended for the Smile album. It came out later on I think it came out on Smiley Smile, which was kind of like a put together hodgepodge of Smile session material. And so Roll Plymouth Rock in the original Smile session had Heroes and Villains lines in it. So, heroes and villains, do bawada, heroes and villains. It was like kind of like a coda of heroes and villains, I would say. So they did a really good job. It's very intricate in terms of the harmony and the instrumentation. I think they knocked it out of the park. Number 10. Track number 10 on the album was In My Room, one of my favorite early Beach Boys. Well, I would say one of my favorite Beach Boys songs from the Surfer Girl album. And this is by Richard Barone. Richard Barone. I think it's Richard Barone. Straightforward rendition. And another interesting fact that I learned about him was that at one point he sang with Al Jardine. So he's got some Beach Boys connections. So I thought that was kind of cool. And that's really all I have to say about that one. Just a faithful rendition. Number 11, I know this is Matt's favorite band. I would say at least it's his newest favorite band. This is the Midnight Callers with the song Do It Again, which was a non-album single cut. And again, it was a straightforward rendition. Probably a little bit more crunchy guitars and drumming. It was a little bit rockier than the original, the original is like kind of like that surf sound to it. And the Midnight Callers kind of made it a little bit little bit harder, but not a whole lot. Moving on to number 12, I Get Around. This was a duet with Richard Barone and Jonathan Pushkar. Again, a faithful rendition. Not a whole lot to say about it. It was from the All Summer Long album originally. So they just kind of go back and forth between between lines in the song, and it's just a straightforward cover, I'd say. A deeper cut from the Wild Honey album, I'd Love Just Wants to See You by the Anderson Council again. I'd say they probably made this a little bit more poppy than the original. The original one's very laid back. That whole Wild Honey album, you should check it out. It's a short little album, so you don't even have to take a lot of time to listen to it. But the Anderson Council does a really good job with it. Really strong drums. I thought they were really high up in the mix, which added a lot to it. So that was cool too. Please Let Me Wonder is the second to last track. Again, Jonathan Pushkar. This is probably my favorite contribution that he made to the album. It's a really pretty ballad. It's from the Beach Boys Today record, and again, it was a really good highlight for me. I thought it was a nice little ballad to add to the track listing. So good job on that, Jonathan, if you're seeing this. And then the final track is kind of an instrumental, vocally. There's lyrics in it, but it's very like. It's kind of, like this kind of number, like you're kind of like feeling it. And they call it Pet Sounds Story. And this is by Lisa Mickles and Super 8 for the final track. And the main backing track is the instrumental Pet Sounds from the Pet Sounds album, which was originally supposed to be a James Bond theme. I know when Brian wrote it, he wanted it to be a James Bond theme, but it was never used. But they interplay a lot of lines and titles from a ton of other Beach Boys songs. These are the ones that I caught in it. You might have heard others, So they bring snippets of girls on the beach, let him run wild, the warmth of the sun again, all summer long in my room. She knows me too. She knows me too wild, and wouldn't it be nice forever and Surfer Girl. So it was a neat little close, to kind of harken back to the beginning of the warmth of the sun. So overall, I would, I definitely recommend it. I'd probably give it maybe an 8 out of 10. I'm sure Brian Wilson would be proud if he heard it, if he hasn't already heard it. Um, and again, I've listened to it 4 or 5 times, so I'd say I'm well versed in it by this point. So let me know what you think. Matt, thanks for pushing me to do this. I was happy to do it. And I hope to see you all very soon on whatever video I have next, because I've got a few ideas. So stay tuned and listen to some Beach Boys and Brian. Take care.